I've wanted to do this video for a while now because I felt a little weird after Solar Power released. To me, and this is a hot take, but it was almost like there was less hype after the single Solar Power released, which is almost a year old at this point, which is insane. Solar Power isn't a bad song by any means, but it is a very relaxed song. It's not that hype, it's calming, and it wasn't like it was anything crazy I hadn't heard before, so in turn, I wasn't hyped or interested in the Solar Power album, more or less just relaxed by knowing that we are getting more Lorde music and it's actually like coming and real. With the month or two wait time between the first single and the album, the release time kind of felt like the album was being promoted as more than it actually was. Melodrama was released in a similar way with singles slowly being put out, but that album was a lot more bombastic and it really needed that hype. Solar Power feels like it almost would have had me more excited if it was released out of the blue, similar to the recent Kendrick project. That project isn't nearly as calm as Solar Power, but there's a similar kind of understated energy that Solar Power has, and that album didn't have too much time to release singles and build up hype, at least if you don't consider the 5-year gap between it and Damn. Like, we weren't expecting anything too crazy. It just kind of came out. If Solar Power released in a similar fashion, I feel like the excitement would have been greater for me, and it would have made the album feel like more than it actually was. If I just woke up to 12 new Lorde songs, I would be amazed, but I wouldn't expect the most grand album of all time. More like an intimate collection of songs, which is what Solar Power more or less feels like to me. Having all this time to build up Solar Power's release made me expect more, to be honest. So why am I talking about the release of Solar Power when I'm supposed to be talking about what Lorde does next? Well, I feel like this release is important to seeing how Lorde's next project will be viewed. For example, Kanye. No person should ever expect him to release a project on time again. He has a history of delaying and not delivering products on promised days, and when that inevitable next album releases, I know I won't even process the first announced date because I know it just won't be followed through with. Lorde definitely is a person who is smart enough to know how people will view her art and perceive her. I think she knows and would honestly want to make her next body of work something completely unexpected just to get a kick out of how people would react to it. I mean, Solar Power was unexpected. People were thinking she was going to go down a similar route to Melodrama. But what I've been thinking about for a while is, what is that next step? Like I said earlier, the Solar Power single is almost 1 year old, and in my opinion, the album rollout is done. Yes, we still have another leg of the tour, and yes, there is seemingly more music videos to be released, but I don't think many people are asking for them or dying for them. Lorde's momentum as a musical artist has really died down. I mean, the most attention she's gotten since the release of Solar Power was an out-of-context video of her being weird on stage and telling people to shut up. I believe that she's okay with her position in the industry right now, and possibly even grateful that she doesn't have to follow up the success of albums like Pure Heroine or Melodrama. And for context, as amazing as Melodrama is, it still was viewed as a disappointment commercially. There wasn't a hit single like Royals or Team, and even after the remixes with artists as big as Khalid, SZA, and Post Malone, she couldn't get a hit. But that album still sold 6 figures first week, and for this album to sell 34K first week, it can be really deterring, but for her, honestly, I feel like it sets the bar lower, which is good for her. It's less stress. And I don't know exactly what Lorde wants to do. I'm not the woman. And if she wants to make songs as big as Teams or Royals again, I will gladly accept it. If she wants to make art as challenging as Melodrama is, I will very much accept that. Or if she just wants to chill, then I'm good with that too. If I want to talk for myself personally, I feel like that Lorde's 4th album could really play into the darker side of herself. Something scary, something almost uncanny, kind of like how we see it on Fallen Fruit. It's something I've always gotten a taste of in Lorde's music, but really diving into that world would be something that I know I would love. I just don't see it happening based on who she is at the moment or who she's portraying herself as, which I do think plays into what kind of albums she makes. They're kind of extensions of what she's going through at the moment, and she seems happy, and that's kind of what we get out of Solar Power. I definitely wasn't as happy when Solar Power released, which is why the album probably doesn't hit as much. I mean, it's summer again, I'm listening to it again, I still feel the same. I'm happier now, but thank you for being concerned, but it still just feels like we're in a world that is challenged, and I just would want more out of, at least sonically, like musically, that would connect to me. And it still sounds nice, but I want something a little more at least exciting if it's going to be this happy. You don't have to be struggling to make good art. I will admit it definitely helps me, but I think that Lorde can still be happy and still be able to dive into dark places or just explore some more challenging topics. There are challenging topics that are explored on Solar Power. I mean, Big Star is one of my favorite Lorde songs, and I know it's not for everyone else, but that song just hits me differently because it's so agonizingly sad but happy at the same time, and it's such a blend that's amazing. But more of this and more of a similar Fallen Fruit would be great. I don't know how long we're gonna have to wait to get it. I kind of was expecting her to release a mini project out of the blue, just like randomly, because I feel like she would want to do that. Just a collection of songs, which she kind of did with this project, but they are just her other songs in another language. And it's definitely not going to be until the end of this tour, because it would be weird to have a new album and still go on tour promoting the album that you released before this. I don't know. I don't want to wait another 5 years for this, is what I'm saying. So what do you think Lorde's next move should be? I'm curious on what y'all think.